soft relationships shape the natural world. But what if every forest, every ocean, every quiet patch of earth was held together by hidden partnerships, too small, too gentle, or too ancient to see? Take a deep breath, settle into a comfortable place, and allow your mind to drift into a slow and peaceful rhythm. Tonight, we travel through the calm and quiet world of symbiosis. This word, shaped from Greek roots meaning living together, describes a vast web of relationships that support life in the most unexpected places. These partnerships form between creatures great and small. They shape the rise of species. They shift the balance of entire landscapes. And they unfold in silence, in patience, and in the soft passing of time. Symbiosis is more than cooperation. It can be gentle or firm, ancient or newly formed. Sometimes it is harmonious, with both partners gaining comfort and strength. Sometimes it leans in one direction, with one partner doing most of the gentle work. And sometimes it is simply coexistence, a long and quiet sharing of space and resources. These relationships can exist between plants and fungi, insects and microorganisms, mammals and birds, or even within the tissues that make up living bodies. As we drift through these ideas, imagine yourself wandering through softly lit environments. Picture a forest floor with muted green colors. Picture a reef glowing under filtered sunlight. Picture quiet nighttime deserts where heat rises and falls across silent miles of open space. In each of these places, partnerships shape survival. They are quiet but powerful. They are delicate but enduring. Across this journey, we will explore relationships hidden in roots beneath the soil, in the feathers of birds, in the fur of mammals, and in the long expanse of oceans that stretch for thousands of miles. We will see how connections help creatures endure heat, cold, hunger, darkness, and time itself. Let this be a soothing guide, a calm and steady companion, a bedtime science story that flows gently like slow waves under a star-filled sky. And if you find comfort in this peaceful exploration, I invite you to subscribe for more calming documentary journeys to fall asleep to. The word symbiosis is simple, yet it describes one of the deepest forces shaping life. When we talk about species surviving storms, droughts, or countless generations of change, we often imagine each species acting alone. But nature rarely works in isolation. Instead, it weaves complex networks that stretch across landscapes and lifetimes. In the soothing language of biology, symbiosis simply means that two different organisms live together in a close relationship. But the texture of that relationship can vary. Sometimes both organisms benefit. This gentle mutual support is called mutualism. Sometimes one benefits while the other remains unaffected. This neutral companionship is called commensalism. And sometimes one organism benefits at the expense of another. This too is symbiosis, although it feels sharper and more difficult. It is called parasitism. Even within these categories, the lines can soften and shift. A relationship that begins as neutral might slowly become helpful. A beneficial partnership might strain under new environmental pressures. Nature is fluid, and living systems adjust as conditions change. The world does not divide itself neatly. Instead, it drifts in gradients. Think of a forest that stretches for many miles, with trees rising hundreds of feet towards softly scattered sunlight. Beneath those trees, invisible connections lace the soil. Fungi attach to roots, forming intimate associations that help trees absorb nutrients and water. The trees, in turn, share sugars formed from sunlight captured in their leaves. In this quiet partnership, both species gain strength. Their lives intertwine, but symbiosis is not limited to roots and soil. It appears in every corner of life. Birds nest among thorns for protection. Fish hide among anemone tentacles. Microbes cling to the surfaces of mammals, shaping digestion, immunity, and scent. Even the air around you carries organisms that depend on one another in subtle ways. What makes symbiosis so soothing to think about is the idea of connection. Life is rarely solitary. It is a quiet chorus, each voice relying gently on another. Even in harsh places, deserts with blazing heat, tundras where temperatures can drop well below freezing, reefs battered by waves reaching heights of several feet. Connections help living beings endure. Imagine a partnership so specialized that one species cannot live without the other. These obligate relationships are among the most delicate in nature. Some insects rely entirely on tiny microbes living within their bodies to digest specific foods. Without these inner partners, the insects could not survive. The microbes, in turn, depend completely on the shelter and nutrients provided by the insect. They have evolved together over countless generations, each shaping the other like slow, flowing currents, smoothing a stone. Other relationships are optional but helpful. A bird may clean insects from the back of a grazing mammal, gaining food while providing relief. Either species could survive alone, but together they gain comfort and stability. These relationships are flexible, allowing partners to come and go with the shifting seasons. As we explore the world of symbiosis in the chapters ahead, keep this soft idea in mind. Relationships shape life. They support survival in ways we often overlook. They bring balance and resilience. They are the hidden threads that tie ecosystems together, forming vast patterns as wide as continents and as small as a single grain of soil. As you settle in and let your breath slow, imagine these threads weaving through all living things. Picture their slow, quiet pulse. Symbiosis is not a loud process. It is gentle, subtle, enduring, a calm and steady force within the natural world. The ocean is a world built on motion. Even in the calmest coves and the most sheltered lagoons, currents drift like slow thoughts moving across a dreaming mind. The water glides in cycles shaped by moonlight, wind, and the deep pull of tides that stretch across many thousands of miles. Within this gentle motion, symbiosis thrives. It unfolds in soft gestures, tiny exchanges, and long-term relationships as steady as the slow rise and fall of waves against distant shores. Among the most soothing and iconic partnerships in the sea is the relationship between sea anemones and the small, brightly colored fish that nestle among their tentacles. These fish are known commonly as clownfish, and their bond with their chosen anemone appears almost like a living lullaby. The anemone waves its soft tentacles in the mild ocean currents while the fish move gently between them, as if drifting in a safe and comforting cradle. To understand why this partnership exists, we must begin with the anemone. It is not a plant, though its calm appearance may suggest one. Instead, it is a quiet and patient animal. Its tentacles contain stinging cells capable of deterring many larger creatures, offering a level of protection that is impressive for an animal rooted to a rocky surface. An anemone cannot flee from danger. It cannot swim to safety, but it carries defenses that discourage curious predators. The clownfish, by contrast, is a more mobile creature, yet one vulnerable to many ocean hunters. A small fish gliding through open water can attract the attention of larger predators from many feet away. Bright colors, although beautiful, do not offer camouflage in every situation. The clownfish needs a safe space, a refuge from the endless drift of the currents and the many mouths that swim through them. The partnership begins with a delicate ritual. When a clownfish first approaches an anemone, it cannot immediately dive into the tentacles. Those tentacles can sting, even fatally. Instead, the clownfish performs a slow and patient dance. It brushes lightly against the tentacles and then pulls away. It repeats this motion again and again. Through this gentle acclimation, the fish coats itself in the anemone's natural mucus. Over time, the anemone accepts the clownfish as part of its living system. It ceases to sting, recognizing the fish as a familiar presence. What unfolds next is mutualism in its purest form. The clownfish gains shelter among the protective tentacles. Larger fish cannot easily reach it without risking painful stings. The anemone gains something as well. The clownfish cleans debris from its tentacles and chases away small predators that might nibble at the anemone's soft tissues. The movement of the clownfish also helps circulate fresh, oxygen-rich water around the anemone, supporting its health in subtle ways. In this way, the fish and the anemone weave their lives together. But the ocean's partnerships extend far beyond this iconic pair. Drifting through warm waters, where coral reefs rise like ancient underwater cities, we find relationships that stretch across many layers of life. Reef-building corals, which form structures spanning thousands of square feet, owe much of their strength to a microscopic partner. Tiny algae, too small to see with the naked eye, live within coral tissues. These algae capture sunlight, turning it into energy. The coral animal, in return, provides shelter and essential nutrients. This mutual dependence allows reefs to grow upward, forming towering shapes over centuries. Without the algae, the coral cannot build its calcium structures. Without the coral, the algae cannot survive the turbulence of open water. In warm, clear regions where sunlight penetrates many feet downward, this partnership drives ecosystems filled with color and sound. Fish glide in and out of coral formations. Sea stars crawl across sandy patches. Crabs hide among ridges. Every creature depends, directly or indirectly, on the harmony between coral and algae. Another gentle relationship occurs between cleaner fish and the larger animals they service. These small fish maintain cleaning stations along reefs, where larger species, sometimes fish many feet long, approach calmly, allowing the cleaners to remove parasites from their skin. It is a moment of trust, a vulnerability rarely seen in nature. The larger fish open their mouths, fan their gills, and remain almost motionless, while the cleaner fish move through their teeth and along their surfaces. This exchange, too, is symbiotic. The cleaner fish gain a steady supply of food. The larger fish gain relief and health. Even sharks participate, adjusting their posture and slowing their movements so the cleaner fish can perform their quiet work. The ocean is full of such moments, fleeting gestures, quiet exchanges, and long-term relationships shaped by the delicate balance of currents and tides. Some partnerships are obvious, like the clownfish resting within the anemone. Others are far more hidden, along the ocean floor in dark regions stretching for many miles. Sea cucumbers rely on tiny commensal fish that live within their bodies. These fish gain shelter and protection, while the sea cucumber remains largely unaffected. Though this relationship may sound unusual, it has persisted through countless generations, surviving in places where sunlight never reaches. Far above these deep regions, closer to the surface, where light sparkles across gentle waves, we find symbiosis in the movement of plankton. Many zooplankton species host tiny photosynthetic organisms within their tissues. These microorganisms provide energy during daylight hours, helping the plankton drift and feed. In return, the plankton offer nutrients and protection. Even at this microscopic scale, life forms weave intricate connections. Some partnerships in the ocean become more dramatic when environmental conditions change. During storms, when waves rise many feet and winds push water across wide distances, organisms may become separated from their usual habitats. Symbiotic partners must adapt or perish. Yet many relationships endure these forces with surprising resilience. A clownfish may be swept from its anemone during a surge, only to find its way back through scent cues carried by the current. Coral colonies may experience dramatic temperature shifts that stress their microscopic algae, but many reefs recover when conditions return to stability. The ocean's immense depth and breadth mean that symbiosis occurs in countless forms. From the surface waters warmed by sunlight to the cold, dark expanses thousands of feet below, life maintains itself through interdependence. Even creatures that appear solitary often rely on unseen partners. Whales, for example, carry tiny organisms on their skin. Barnacles cling to their vast bodies, traveling across entire oceans. While this relationship leans more toward commensalism, it is unmistakably a form of shared living. In calm bays where mangrove roots extend downward like fingers reaching into soft sediment, fish, crustaceans, and microorganisms create miniature communities in which each species influences another. The roots offer shelter and stability. The animals help cycle nutrients through the water. Even the slow decomposition of fallen leaves supports microorganisms that in turn feed small creatures. Each step in this chain forms a gentle balance. As we drift further through this chapter, allow your mind to picture these partnerships with slow, calming clarity. Imagine the soft sway of anemone tentacles moving with a rhythm as steady as a resting breath. Imagine the clownfish gliding through them with quiet confidence. Imagine coral reefs rising from the ocean floor like ancient towers shaped over many generations. Picture tiny algae living inside coral tissues, glowing faintly as they work with sunlight. Picture cleaner fish dancing around larger companions in a serene exchange of trust. These scenes unfold silently, without urgency. The ocean moves at its own pace. Symbiosis in the sea reflects that tranquil rhythm. Every partnership contributes to a larger whole. Every gentle connection supports life across many miles of open water. In this world, cooperation is not an exception, it is a foundation. When we think of the ocean, we often imagine its vastness, endless water stretching toward the horizon. Yet hidden within that expanse, symbiosis reveals the intimate nature of life. It shows us that no creature truly exists alone. Even the smallest organism participates in relationships that shape entire ecosystems. As you settle deeper into this calming narrative, let the idea of ocean symbiosis soothe your thoughts. Life beneath the waves is not chaotic. It is not random. It is a tapestry woven from countless threads of connection, each one supporting the others. This harmony, softly unfolding across great distances, offers a reminder of the quiet strength found in partnership. In the next chapter, we will move from oceans to forests, places where tree roots whisper to fungi and entire ecosystems breathe together through hidden networks beneath the soil. But for now, let the image of a clownfish curled within its anemone remain in your mind. It is a symbol of safety, balance, and the gentle ways life finds support in even the vastest environments. Settle once more into stillness and let your breath soften as we drift into the shaded world beneath the forest floor. When most people picture a forest, they imagine tall trunks rising dozens of feet into the air, leaves shimmering in the wind, and sunlight filtering through branches in gentle, shifting beams. Yet the most important structure in a forest often lies out of sight, deep in the quiet earth. It is a system more ancient than the trees themselves, older than any bird song or rustling leaf. It is a living network of threads, thinner than a strand of hair, stretching through soil for countless yards, weaving from root to root in a vast, silent web. This hidden world is the realm of mycorrhizae, the partnerships between fungi and plant roots. In this chapter, we slow down and explore these intimate connections. We travel into the dim and peaceful underground, where air moves slowly and time seems to pulse in long, gentle rhythms. Here, fungi and trees share resources, signal danger, and support each other through droughts, storms, and the passing of centuries. The word mycorrhiza means fungus root, and that simple name captures the essence of this partnership. Fungal filaments, called hyphae, wind through the soil like soft threads. They seek moisture, minerals, and organic particles, reaching into gaps too small for even the thinnest tree roots. When these threads encounter a root, they gently wrap around it or slip between its cells, forming an exquisitely close bond. The fungus collects nutrients such as phosphorus or nitrogen from the soil and offers them to the tree. The tree, in turn, sends sugars crafted through photosynthesis, a sweet and steady gift of energy. This exchange is not just helpful, it is transformative. A tree with strong mycorrhizal partners may grow taller, survive droughts longer, and recover from wounds more easily. A fungus with a healthy tree partner gains a stable and abundant source of carbohydrates, both lives knit together, forming a cooperative whole. But what makes this relationship especially soothing to imagine is the scale of it. One network of fungal threads can stretch across several yards of forest floor. In rare cases, a single organism may span dozens of yards, quietly linking roots from tree to tree. Some forests contain hundreds of thousands of individual partnerships, forming what scientists sometimes call the wood wide web, a term both playful and accurate. Though each tree stands upright and separate on the surface, beneath the soil their roots connect through a shared fungal mesh. The forest becomes a community, each tree aware, in a subtle and chemical way, of its neighbors. Imagine a young sapling in deep shade, unable to reach enough sunlight to make sufficient sugars. Alone, it might wither, but connected to the underground network, older trees nearby can send small amounts of sugars through their fungal partners to the struggling youngster. This generosity is not conscious in the way human kindness is, but it is a form of support nonetheless. A forest thrives when its members are strong, and these underground pathways help stabilize the entire system. Consider, too, how forests respond to stress. When a tree becomes wounded, perhaps by insects, drought, or a branch broken during a storm, it releases chemical signals into its roots. The fungal partners detect these signals and pass versions of them through the network. Neighboring trees receive the warning. They may adjust their defenses, strengthen their bark chemistry, or shift stored nutrients to prepare for similar threats. All of this happens in slow waves, measured not in seconds, but in hours and days. The forest communicates through whispers that drift under layers of soil and fallen leaves. One of the most calming aspects of imagining mycorrhizal symbiosis is the sense of continuity. Some trees can live for hundreds of years. Some fungi live even longer. Their relationships stretch through generations. A sapling might form its first fungal partnerships in soil where the ancestors of the fungus have lived for centuries. When that sapling eventually becomes an old tree, its roots may still carry the descendants of the same fungal threads that first nourished it. Let your mind picture this scene, a quiet grove at dusk, with air cooling and shadows lengthening. Above ground, everything seems peaceful and still. Below ground, however, life moves softly. Hyphae extend outward, exploring new pockets of soil. Roots grow a fraction of an inch at a time. Nutrients slip through living channels, passing from one organism to another. It is a slow and ancient choreography, steady as the rising and falling of tides. Fungi do more than gather nutrients. They improve the structure of soil itself. As their threads push through particles of clay, silt, and organic matter, they form tiny aggregates, creating pockets where air and water can flow. This helps roots breathe. It also allows rainwater to soak deeper into the ground instead of running off the surface. In forests where mycorrhizae flourish, the soil becomes springy and rich, like a soft sponge after a long rain. Trees also shape this underground world. Different species release different compounds through their roots. Some encourage certain fungi. Others suppress what might be harmful. The result is a complex and dynamic environment where each organism gently modifies the habitat for others. There are two main types of mycorrhizal relationships, though both are soothing in their own way. The first type, is called ectomycorrhizae. These fungi wrap around roots, but do not enter the root cells themselves. They form a delicate sheath, like a soft glove around the root tips. Many familiar forest trees, such as pines and oaks, form these partnerships. The second type is called arbuscular mycorrhizae. These fungi slip inside the root cells, forming tiny branched structures that resemble miniature trees. These structures allow nutrients to be exchanged with extraordinary efficiency. Many flowering plants rely on this type of symbiosis. In both forms, the relationship is voluntary yet essential. Trees grown in sterile soil without fungal partners often struggle even when provided with ample water and sunlight. They become more vulnerable to disease and grow more slowly. Fungi too fail when isolated from plant hosts. They cannot create their own food from sunlight. They need the sugars trees produce. Together, they form a balanced, peaceful alliance. Imagine walking through a forest after a gentle rain. You may notice mushrooms rising from the ground, their caps lifting softly through the leaf litter. These mushrooms are the reproductive structures of underground fungi, appearing only briefly. The real body of the fungus remains in the soil, hidden but immense. As you walk, you may pass above threads that stretch several yards in every direction. You may step over quiet partnerships older than any human memory. Some of the largest organisms on Earth are fungal networks linked to forests. One such organism, found in the western United States, spreads across many acres and weighs several tons, though its presence is nearly invisible. It has supported and interacted with trees for centuries, forming a living tapestry beneath the earth. This idea that a vast organism spreads quietly under your feet can be unexpectedly comforting. It reminds us that the world is layered with hidden connections. Even fallen leaves and decaying wood become part of this system. As fungi break down organic matter, they release nutrients that return to the soil. Trees absorb these nutrients through their roots and pass some of them back to their fungal partners. The cycle is continuous, gentle, and balanced. Another calming thought is the cooperation between different fungal species. A single tree may host several kinds of fungi, each with its own strengths. Some explore deep soil, reaching nutrients far below the surface. Others spread wide and shallow, capturing minerals washed in by rain. Together, they create a multi-layered support system. The tree gives sugars to all of them, and each fungus contributes what it does best. This diversity enhances the tree's resilience. Forests built on strong mycorrhizal networks can endure harsh conditions. During drought, fungal threads help roots locate pockets of moisture. During nutrient shortages, they find hidden sources of minerals. After disturbances like fires or storms, the underground network often survives even when the surface appears devastated. These fungal threads help new seedlings take root and restore life to damaged earth. Some experiments have shown that trees may even adjust how they share resources. If a neighboring tree is weakened, perhaps by shade or injury, the underground network may direct small but measurable amounts of nutrients toward it. A healthier tree may contribute more to the system. While these processes are chemical rather than emotional, they echo principles of support and balance. In this way, a forest is not a collection of isolated trunks. It is a community of individuals quietly connected by partnerships spanning inches, feet, and yards. To walk through such a forest is to move through an intricate web of shared life. Now imagine lying on soft ground at the edge of a forest clearing. You feel the cool earth beneath you. Above, leaves rustle gently in slow breezes. Beneath you, an entire world unfolds. Fungal threads pulse with nutrients, roots stretch and breathe. Microbes drift among soil grains the size of tiny stones. The forest communicates through subtle signals, moving slowly through networks older than any human structure. This vision, though invisible to the eye, creates a sense of deep calm, a reminder that life is interconnected, supported, and quietly held together by unseen hands. And so we close this chapter by recognizing that symbiosis in forests is not merely a biological curiosity. It is a foundation of resilience, a stabilizing force that allows ecosystems to endure hardships over centuries. Trees stand tall because of what lies beneath them. Fungi thrive because of the sunlight trees capture. Together, they form an alliance that stretches across time, shaped by patience and cooperation. If you let this idea settle in your mind, you may feel a soft sense of grounding. Like roots and fungal threads, we too live within networks. We support and are supported. We give and receive. And even in moments when we cannot see the connections around us, they endure, holding our world together. Settle a little deeper. Let your breath slow. And imagine a quiet world that lives inside every creature, a world too small to see, yet vast in its influence. This hidden universe is made of microbes. They drift through tissues, settle in sheltered spaces, and form communities as old as life itself. Though tiny, they shape bodies from within, guiding digestion, immunity, and even behavior in ways both subtle and profound. Microbes are often associated with illness, yet most of them do not cause harm. Many are gentle partners. They form relationships that have lasted for millions of years, long before the first forests stretched their branches or the earliest mammals wandered across soft soil. These microorganisms include bacteria, archaea, fungi, and even tiny protists. Together they form a quiet constellation of helpers. Think of the human body. It carries trillions of these tiny companions. Some live along the skin, where they form protective layers that prevent harmful invaders from taking hold. Some live deeper, within the digestive tract, where they help break down complex foods. Some create chemicals that calm inflammation. Others tune the immune system, teaching it to recognize friendly cells from threatening ones. They act like a quiet counsel, advising the body from the inside. When you imagine them, picture not chaos but gentle order. Microbes gather in distinct neighborhoods. Along the tongue, beneath the gums, across the thin folds of the stomach, and especially within the long winding space of the intestines, where warm temperatures and steady nutrients create a perfect haven. If stretched from end to end, the human intestinal system winds across several yards, offering many sheltered pockets where microbial communities thrive. These microbes help unlock energy from foods that would otherwise pass through untouched. They break fibers into small, useful molecules. They produce vitamins that bodies cannot make alone. Some create chemical signals that drift into the bloodstream and travel throughout the body, shaping appetite, mood, and energy levels. This is a partnership formed across species. The body provides shelter, warmth, and nourishment. In return, the microbes offer protection and support. It is one of the oldest symbioses in nature. Inside many animals, microbes gather into layered communities. Picture a warm environment, around 90 to 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Not too hot, not too cold. A calm, steady setting. Microbes form thin films here, coating surfaces like a soft living fabric. They grow in clusters, each species finding its place. Some cling tightly to surfaces. Others drift through watery spaces in slow motion, carried by gentle currents. Although these communities may look simple under a microscope, they are intricate. Microbes communicate with chemical signals. One species may release a molecule that feeds another. Some species clear harmful toxins. Others produce enzymes that unlock nutrients. Together, they form a balanced system that supports the host organism. In science, this is often called the microbiome. But in the soft language of bedtime storytelling, think of it as a hidden garden. A garden tended not by hands, but by the slow rhythm of life. A place where tiny beings grow, flourish, and reshape the world around them. Every creature has its own garden. Birds, mammals, reptiles, insects, and even deep-sea fish carry these internal partners. Some animals rely on their microbes far more than humans do. Cows and other grazing animals, for example, have stomach regions that act like warm fermentation chambers. Inside them, microbes break down tough plant fibers. Without these microbial helpers, the animals could not access the energy locked inside grasses. The microbes turn sturdy leaves and stems into nourishment. Termites offer another quiet example. These small insects, often no longer than a fraction of an inch, eat wood. Wood is abundant but stubborn. Without help, termites could not digest it. But inside their bodies, tiny microbes process the fibers of fallen logs and wooden structures. It is a partnership so intricate that neither partner could survive alone. The termites carry the microbes. The microbes transform the food. Together, they turn wood into life. Microbes have lived within animals for millions of years. Across those long spans of time, their relationships have changed, strengthened, and become deeply specialized. Some microbes evolved to live only within certain animals. Some animals evolved digestive systems designed for specific microbes. Over many generations, their lives became intertwined. Imagine a fish swimming through warm ocean water, its body shimmering beneath sunlight scattered through gentle waves. Inside that fish, microorganisms live in balance, helping digest small crustaceans or algae. Far above, birds glide through wide skies. Their intestinal microbes differ from those of the fish, yet they serve similar purposes, allowing the birds to extract nourishment from seeds, fruits, or insects. Now imagine a quiet forest of towering trees rising hundreds of feet high. Within that forest, owls perch in dark hollows. Deer wander across soft soil, squirrels gather seeds and acorns. Each of these animals carries its own internal partners, subtle and silent. The microbes differ from species to species, shaped by diet, habitat, and behavior. Yet they all share one theme: cooperation. This is the essence of endosymbiosis, a relationship where one organism lives inside another. The term may sound scientific, but the concept is peaceful and elegant. It reflects nature's tendency to intertwine lives. Some scientists believe that the very cells making up plants, animals, and fungi evolved through ancient endosymbiosis. Billions of years ago, early cells may have engulfed smaller cells, not to consume them, but to form a partnership. Those smaller cells eventually became mitochondria, the structures that produce energy within every complex organism today. They sit inside you now, quietly fueling life with gentle pulses of chemical power. This means that symbiosis is not only around us, it is within us at the deepest level. Your own cells are the descendants of ancient partnerships. In recent years, scientists have discovered something both surprising and soothing. Microbes can influence behavior. These effects are subtle, unfolding slowly, like ripples spreading across a still pond. But they are meaningful. Microbes can produce chemical messengers that drift through the bloodstream. Some of these messages interact with nerves, some travel toward the brain, some influence sleep cycles, others gently shape mood. For example, certain microbes produce molecules that help calm inflammation throughout the body. This reduction in inflammation can ease stress responses, helping an animal remain calm. Other microbes influence appetite, creating sensations of hunger or fullness. In some species, microbes affect social behavior, encouraging gentle bonding or communal living. The idea that tiny organisms may influence thoughts or feelings may seem surprising. But consider this: life is interconnected at every scale. What happens inside the body can shape how the body moves through the world. These effects are not loud or intrusive. They unfold gradually, shaped by diet, rest, environment, and the delicate balance of microbial communities. They remind us that bodies are not solitary vessels. They are shared spaces, shaped by quiet partners who work in harmony with their hosts. Like all relationships, microbial symbiosis depends on balance. When this balance holds, the body feels stable and strong. When it shifts due to illness, stress, diet changes, or harsh environmental conditions, the internal relationships adjust. In humans, the microbes along the digestive tract can change as quickly as within a few days, especially when food sources shift. A diet high in leafy greens may encourage certain microbial species. A diet heavy in proteins may encourage others. Warm climates, cold climates, intense activity, or long restful periods can all subtly shift microbial communities. Even animals in the wild experience these gentle changes. A bear moving from summertime berries to winter dormancy. A bird migrating thousands of miles before resting on distant shores. A wolf shifting between hunting seasons. All of these transitions shape the internal world of microbes. Yet despite these changes, the core relationship remains. The body supports its microbial partners. The microbes support the body. It is a stabilizing dance, played out in silence. As you rest and listen to this gentle story of internal life, imagine again that quiet inner garden. Picture tiny clusters of organisms drifting through warm, sheltered places. Picture them forming soft patterns along folds and surfaces. Picture their quiet work, breaking down food molecules, calming inflammation, producing helpful chemicals, and shielding the body from harm. This inner garden is not a battlefield. It is a community. Even though these organisms are tiny, some no wider than a few millionths of an inch, they hold a profound influence. They are caretakers, builders, protectors, and silent partners. Their presence reminds us that life thrives through cooperation, even in spaces we cannot see. Symbiosis is not only between large organisms, sometimes the deepest partnerships unfold in the smallest realms. And in that softness, there is something deeply reassuring. We are never alone. Life is always interconnected. Even within us, hidden worlds hum with quiet companionship. Birds move through the world as if they were made for partnership. Their feathers can carry dust, seeds, insects, and tiny forms of life that quietly cling to them during long flights. Their movements shape entire landscapes across many miles, creating new opportunities for life to thrive in places far from where each journey began. And among these gentle travelers, many develop close relationships with mammals, plants, and even other birds, forming networks of support that stretch across continents and seasons. Imagine a large grazing mammal moving slowly across a warm plain. Its thick skin gathers small insects, bits of dried grasses, and occasional parasites. High above, a bird observes patiently, waiting for the right moment to descend. When it lands, it begins to pick through the fur with delicate care. The mammal receives relief from the small pests, while the bird enjoys a meal. Both continue on their way without urgency. This quiet exchange can repeat for many years, generation after generation, shaped by trust rather than force. The bird knows the mammal will not harm it. The mammal understands the presence of the bird brings comfort. Together, their small acts form one of the most familiar examples of gentle symbiosis. Other birds form relationships with plants. Some species break open fruits and scatter seeds in soft arcs across many yards of earth, helping forests expand slowly over time. Some birds carry seeds in their stomachs during long flights and release them far from the original tree, allowing forests to stretch across riverbanks, hilltops, and open plains. These journeys can span dozens of miles, creating new stretches of habitat where young plants take root and rise toward sunlight. Over centuries, these quiet acts reshape entire ecosystems. There are birds that act as gardeners for towering trees, spreading pollen as they move from flower to flower in search of nectar. These birds rarely understand the scale of their contribution. They simply follow sweet scents carried on warm breezes, never knowing they support vast networks of blooming plants that extend for many miles. In exchange, the plants offer energy-rich nectar that fuels long flights and nighttime rest. It is a partnership built on delicate balance, where each movement creates ripple effects in the surrounding environment. But perhaps the most touching symbiotic relationships involving birds occur when they interact with mammals in ways that feel almost emotional. Some species of birds choose to nest in the dense fur of large mammals, relying on the warmth and safety provided by a creature much larger than themselves. The birds remain hidden, resting quietly while the mammal travels across open landscapes. When danger rises in the distance, the bird becomes alert, giving soft calls or sudden movements that inform the mammal of potential threats. The mammal, in turn, offers a mobile shelter that protects the bird from predators and harsh weather. Their partnership is built not on language, but on subtle cues and mutual presence. Some birds form alliances with aquatic mammals along coastlines. They dive into the water to catch small fish disturbed by the movements of a large marine mammal moving through shallow waves. In return, the bird alerts the mammal to schools of fish nearby through its sudden changes in flight direction. These quiet signals allow both partners to feed more efficiently. Even in the vast, restless ocean, these two different kinds of animals learn to read one another with surprising accuracy. Symbiosis involving birds often stretches across many generations, with young birds learning behavioral patterns from the adults around them. For example, a juvenile bird may watch an older one interact with a grazing mammal and learn that this large creature is safe, even welcoming. Over time, these learned behaviors solidify into instinct-like traditions, guiding the partners through countless cycles of life. Feathered species offer another form of partnership, one that works on a much smaller scale. Their feathers provide stable surfaces where tiny mites, harmless to the bird, take refuge and feed on particles that the bird would otherwise need to remove during grooming. These mites reduce the buildup of dust and debris, keeping feathers smooth and ready for flight. In return, the bird's body provides shelter and warmth to these tiny companions. This careful balance supports creatures almost too small to see, yet vital to the cleanliness and flight capabilities of the bird. Some birds engage in cooperative hunting with other species. One bird might circle above a forest, watching the shadows below. When it spots a small mammal hidden under fallen leaves, it gives a thin call. In response, a ground-dwelling animal moves into position, flushing the prey from its hiding place. The two partners share the reward, each gaining access to food that would have been difficult to obtain alone. These examples reveal not only coordination, but an understanding of timing, distance, and patience. Symbiotic relationships in the avian world also influence migration. When birds travel across hundreds or even thousands of miles, they rely on landscapes shaped by countless partnerships. They rest in fields fertilized by grazing animals. They shelter in trees supported by nutrient-sharing fungi deep in the soil. They feed on insects that depend on plants spreading their seeds through earlier bird migrations. Each journey is made possible by a web of life that supports them long before they arrive and continues to support them long after they depart. One of the most remarkable examples of long-distance symbiosis involves the way birds carry nutrients between environments separated by many miles. When a bird feeds in one region and later releases waste in another, it redistributes essential elements that help plants grow in new areas. Over centuries, this movement reshapes soils, strengthens habitats, and enriches entire ecosystems. It is not intentional, but it is profoundly effective. In this way, birds act as quiet caretakers, carrying the memory of one landscape into another. Some birds create symbiotic relationships simply through their presence. When they build nests on cliffs or in tall trees, they create small shelters for insects and tiny mammals that move into the abandoned spaces later. When they drop feathers, these soft materials become valuable insulation for other creatures that line their own nests with them. Even a single feather drifting to the ground can influence the survival of a small animal hiding in the underbrush. The beauty of avian symbiosis lies in its gentleness. Birds are light, but their influence is wide. They move across vast territories without disturbing the quiet balance of nature. Their relationships do not rely on force. They rely on timing, awareness, and the slow rhythm of natural cycles. Whether they are cleaning fur, scattering seeds, carrying pollen, or providing signals of danger, the partnerships they create reflect a deep and ancient harmony. When you imagine a bird perched on the back of a grazing animal or resting safely in its protective fur, you can see the tenderness of these relationships. When you picture a bird crossing many miles of open sky, carrying seeds from one forest to another, you can feel the gentle weight of its contribution. These relationships remind us that even the smallest acts can shape entire ecosystems. They reveal how life grows stronger through cooperation, patience, and shared purpose. In the quiet moments before sleep, think of these birds moving through warm breezes and soft twilight, tending the world in calm and subtle ways. The partnerships are threads woven through space and time, reminding us that even the smallest wings can carry great meaning. Termite societies may seem small and distant, yet within their quiet mounds they shape one of the most remarkable examples of symbiosis on land. To imagine this world, picture a wide plain under soft sunlight. Rising from the earth are towers of soil reaching several feet high, built grain by colonies that number in the hundreds of thousands. Yet the most extraordinary part of their lives is not their architecture, but the delicate partnership that allows them to digest the toughest plant fibers on earth. Inside every bite of wood or dried grass, microscopic helpers perform chemical transformations far beyond the capacity of the insects themselves. A termite's body contains gentle chambers filled with warm, humid air. Inside these chambers live tiny protists, bacteria, and countless microscopic partners. Each carries out a step in the long process of breaking down tough cellulose fibers into simple nutrients. The termites cannot digest these fibers alone. Their partners cannot survive without shelter, warmth, and constant food supplied by the insects. Together, they form a microscopic symbiotic engine, turning lifeless wood into the soft chemical energy that sustains the entire colony. This relationship has unfolded for countless generations. Young termites are born without the necessary microbes. They must receive them from older members of the colony through gentle social sharing. This act binds the colony into a single digestive system, a shared network of nourishment and cooperation. There is something soothing in this image, a vast hidden community of microorganisms working in harmony with quiet, pale insects beneath the soil. Termite mounds are more than homes. They are living environmental machines. Their tall towers regulate temperature, oxygen, moisture, and airflow. Warm air rises through narrow passages that wind upward for several feet, while cooler air is drawn in near the base. This natural ventilation system keeps the inner chambers stable, often holding a comfortable temperature even when the outside air swings from sizzling daytime heat to cool nighttime breezes. Without this steady environment, the delicate microbial partners inside the termites' bodies would falter. The mound itself is part of the symbiotic relationship, shaped indirectly by the needs of millions of unseen partners. The termites are not the only builders in this partnership. Some species form fungi inside chambers deep in the mound. They gather dried grasses, twigs, and leaf fragments and chew them into soft pellets. These pellets form gardens where the fungi grow in a spreading network of gentle white threads. The fungi pre-digest the plant material, breaking down fibers into softer nutrients. The termites feed on these processed fragments, while the fungi benefit from the stable climate and constant supply of fresh material. It is a cycle of quiet giving and receiving, repeated day and night beneath the surface of the earth. In these dark fungal gardens, conditions remain steady, with humidity and temperature held within narrow ranges. The fungi have adapted to these sheltered spaces and cannot survive the harsher conditions above ground. The termites, in turn, rely entirely on the softened food these fungi create. It is an intimate bond, as delicate as the fragile white filaments that connect each fungal cell. When we picture cooperation in nature, we often imagine large creatures working together, or dramatic scenes of mutual rescue. But here, in the stillness of the mound, cooperation takes the form of sustained patience. Each termite performs a tiny task. Each microbe completes a tiny chemical change. Each fungal strand reaches a little farther, and together, these tiny acts result in towering structures, some rising nearly as tall as a grown adult human. What makes this relationship so calming to consider is its subtlety. Noise, haste, and conflict are absent. Everything unfolds slowly. The mound is built over months and years, shaped by gentle movements. The microbial reactions occur molecule by molecule in soft darkness. And the colony grows, not through rapid bursts, but through continuous steady rhythm. If you imagine entering such a mound, you would feel a soft, earthy warmth. Air would drift through narrow tunnels, moving in slow currents. Somewhere deep inside, the queen would rest at the center of the colony's life, her body elongated and pale, tended by careful workers. Yet even she relies on the microbes within her body and the fungi in the gardens. Her immense egg-laying role depends entirely on the quiet functioning of these symbiotic partners. Outside the mound, the partnership extends into the surrounding landscape. As termites break down fallen branches and dry grasses, they release nutrients back into the soil. This enriches the earth across many square miles of savanna or woodland. Plants grow more easily in this softened soil. Grazing animals benefit from the improved vegetation. Predators benefit from the increased presence of prey. A small, unseen microbial partnership ripples outward into an entire ecosystem. Even the structures of the mounds influence their environment. Some stand several yards wide at the base. Their tall towers channel rainwater, slowing runoff and creating moist pockets beneath the surface. Seeds trapped in these pockets germinate more easily. In some regions, clusters of termite mounds act as gentle nurseries for plants, shaping vegetation patterns visible from high above the land. This means that a termite's symbiotic microbes, though microscopic, help shape forests, grasslands, and animal communities that stretch across wide distances. The small actions of small creatures build vast patterns that define entire landscapes. Consider how soothing this is. Grand ecosystems can be shaped not by dramatic events, but by steady cooperation between tiny lives. Growth, balance, and renewal emerge from quiet work done in darkness, guided by bonds older than memory. The fungi that live inside the mounds provide another layer of connection. When a colony relocates or declines, the fungi may produce spores that drift on the wind. These spores land in new areas, waiting for another generation of termites to build a new mound, a new set of gardens, a new cycle of gentle mutual care. In this way, the relationship survives across time and space, bridging colonies that are separated by hundreds of feet or sometimes by many miles. Some species of termites have evolved even more specialized relationships. Certain mound-building species maintain ventilation chimneys with astonishing precision, adjusting openings with soil pellets and saliva to fine-tune airflow. These adjustments are influenced by the needs of the fungi and microbes. If temperatures climb too high or humidity drops too low, the balance falters. The termites respond instinctively, guided by the quiet demands of partners they cannot see but deeply depend upon. There is an elegance in this hidden communication. The insects do not understand the chemistry happening inside their bodies. They simply react to cues in their environment. Yet through these subtle cues, the entire system stays in harmony. One might imagine life inside a mound as a single organism rather than many. Each termite is like a cell. Each fungus garden is like an organ. Each microbial species is like a chemical catalyst flowing in a shared bloodstream. The walls of the mound become the skin of this grand body. Air vents become its lungs. Moist soil becomes its protective shell. And through this living architecture, countless beings survive together. As night falls across the savanna, faint vibrations travel through the soil. Workers continue their tasks, grooming one another, tending the fungus, repairing cracks in the outer walls. Soldiers hold their positions in quiet readiness. The warm interior glows with a soft, organic energy. Every breath taken by a termite contains oxygen brought in through tunnels shaped by many tiny legs. Every bit of nourishment in its body comes from a chain of partners that extends far beyond its own species. Such symbiosis is peaceful to contemplate. It suggests that strength does not always come from size or speed. Sometimes it emerges from connection, from shared roles, from gentle dependences that form over vast stretches of time. If one listens carefully, it is almost as though the mound whispers a message that life thrives through cooperation, through balance, through the patient weaving of relationships both visible and invisible. And as you imagine that quiet world, your thoughts may drift into a peaceful rhythm, following the slow, timeless flow of this partnership beneath the earth. Night brings a special quiet to the world, and with it comes a distinct set of relationships shaped by dim light, cool air, and the slow rhythm of creatures that wake only when the sun has slipped far below the horizon. Symbiosis changes character in the nighttime landscape. It becomes softer, subtler, guided by shadows and soft breezes, shaped by creatures that rely not on bright colors or clear signals, but on scent, vibration, and memory. When the day rests, the night begins its gentle work, and with it emerges a hidden network of partnerships that thrive in darkness. Imagine a wide desert plain stretching for many miles under a sky filled with distant stars. The heat of the day loosens its grip, and the ground cools by several degrees with each passing hour. As temperatures fall, nocturnal plants begin to release faint scents. They open pale blossoms that would be overwhelmed by sunlight, but glow softly under moonlight. These blossoms do not rely on daytime pollinators such as butterflies. They form silent alliances with moths, bats, and small nighttime insects. Each of these creatures glides through cool air, guided by patterns of scent far more delicate than any that appear during the day. A moth hovering near a night-blooming flower receives nectar, while the flower gains the gentle transfer of pollen across long stretches of desert terrain. This alliance shapes the survival of countless species in environments where the sun can scorch the ground and where daytime water loss would be far too great. In forests, the night shift holds similar patterns. The tall silhouettes of trees stretch upward, and within their branches a quiet exchange takes place. Fruit-bearing plants that ripen after sunset rely on bats that travel many miles in winding routes, guided by echoes that softly reflect from fruit, leaves, and branches. The bats search for nourishment, using fine-tuned senses to locate ripe fruit in near darkness. As they feed, they disperse seeds across vast distances, sometimes dropping them miles away from the parent plant. These journeys allow new forests to rise. They help entire ecosystems shift and spread. The plants offer a resource, and the bats offer the gift of dispersal, forming an ancient cooperation that continues each night across tropical and temperate lands. Deeper in the forest, on the ground where leaves form soft layers, another form of nighttime symbiosis unfolds. Small mammals venture through the underbrush, their movements nearly silent. Some rely on fungi to access nutrients hidden within dense soil layers. These mammals dig for truffles or other subterranean fungal structures that hold concentrated stores of minerals. As they feed, they disturb the soil, spreading fungal spores. This helps the fungi colonize new territory, and their presence supports the health of tree roots. Without these small mammals, certain fungal species would be limited to narrow patches of ground. Without the fungi, trees would struggle to draw essential nutrients from deep within the soil. The night becomes a gentle conveyor of balance as each species benefits quietly from the other. Even insects that appear solitary during the day may rely on nighttime partnerships. Consider a tiny beetle navigating under a canopy after dusk. It carries with it small microorganisms that live upon its body. These microbes help break down hard plant tissue, enabling the beetle to feed on materials that otherwise would be far too tough. In return, the beetle carries the microbes to new feeding sites. This simple exchange, occurring on creatures smaller than a grain of sand, influences the breakdown of plant material and the recycling of nutrients through large forest systems. In grasslands and savannas, the nighttime brings larger creatures into its calm rhythm. Grazers move more freely when the heat of the day no longer presses upon them. Some animals rely on birds that remain awake long after sunset, seeking insects stirred by shifting hooves or distant movements. While the animals graze, the birds collect food from pests that would otherwise cling to fur or hide just beneath the skin. The birds gain nourishment, and the larger animals gain relief from irritants. In a dim landscape shaped by soft moonlight, these relationships form a quiet cycle of care. Symbiosis at night also takes shape in the air itself. Many insects rely on specific temperature changes that occur only after dusk. Certain moths, for example, can detect shifts of only a few degrees Fahrenheit in the surrounding air. These subtle changes help them locate flowers whose blossoms respond to the cooler nighttime atmosphere. Some plants warm their blossoms slightly, just enough for sensitive insects to detect them. This small rise in temperature, often only a handful of degrees, creates a thermal signal that guides pollinators across large areas. It is a gentle exchange, built on trust, shaped over long evolutionary time. In coastal environments, nocturnal symbiosis can be even more striking. As the tide ebbs and flows under the pale light of the moon, small crustaceans emerge to feed on debris left by larger daytime species. Some fish rely on these nocturnal cleaners, approaching them with slow and steady motions. The crustaceans remove dead tissue and parasites, providing a service that increases the health of their partners. In return, they receive nourishment in an ecosystem where food can be scarce after sunset. This quiet ritual, repeated night after night, strengthens both species. Deeper still, in waters where light fades completely, nocturnal symbiosis becomes defined not by the sun, but by patterns of movement that rise and fall with lunar cycles. Planktonic organisms drift upward when darkness settles, and with them come small fish that rely on these drifting clouds of life. Many of these fish carry microorganisms within their bodies. These microbes help them digest tiny organisms that vary widely in structure and composition. Without these internal partners, the fish would struggle to extract nutrients from the complex materials that fill the open ocean at night. In turn, the fish provide a stable habitat for their microbial partners, allowing them to remain protected in waters that can span thousands of miles. In some environments, nocturnal symbiosis grows even more intricate. Consider a cave system extending far underground, where the absence of sunlight shapes every part of life. Here, bats roost in large numbers, and their presence supports a delicate network of decomposers. Their waste becomes a foundation for fungal growth, which then supports small invertebrates that feed upon those fungi. These invertebrates become food for larger predators, forming an ecosystem built entirely upon the movements of bats that enter and exit the cave each night. Each species plays a role, each one connected to the others in a cycle of nourishment and exchange. The darkness does not hinder life. Instead, it guides it into specialized pathways filled with partnership. Even predators participate in symbiotic patterns at night. Owls glide through forests, their wings nearly silent. As they hunt small mammals, they influence population levels that affect plant communities, fungal networks, and countless other species. Although not a direct mutualistic exchange, the presence of a predator can strengthen entire ecosystems by maintaining balance. This balance allows mutualistic relationships to persist, making the predator a stabilizing force even from the shadows. Across all these nighttime environments, one theme emerges again and again. Darkness does not diminish symbiosis, it amplifies it. It creates space for subtle cues, for gentle scents drifting through cool air, for vibrations of wings, for soft exchanges of warmth, for patterns of movement that stretch for miles across quiet landscapes. The night becomes a canvas for cooperation shaped by silence and patience. As you imagine these nocturnal worlds, let your breath fall into a slow and restful pattern. Picture faint moonlight settling on open fields. Picture forest branches moving gently in the wind. Picture desert blossoms releasing pale scents into the cool air. Each moment of this nighttime symbiosis forms part of a greater tapestry, one that supports life in every corner of the natural world, one that continues long after the last rays of sunlight have faded. The idea of partnership becomes even more striking when we step into places shaped by extremes. Some landscapes push life to its limits. They offer almost no water, or almost no warmth, or almost no light. And yet life persists, not through solitary strength, but through delicate, finely tuned relationships that help organisms endure conditions harsher than most creatures could tolerate alone. These extreme partnerships unfold in deserts where the air shimmers with heat, in frozen lakes where ice thickens across many feet, and in the deep earth where pressure grows with every passing yard beneath the surface. In hot deserts, the sun can raise ground temperatures far beyond what a body can safely withstand. The sand can burn, the air can dry, and the shade may stretch only a few feet in certain places. But even here, the smallest alliances create pockets of survival. Many desert lichens are formed by partnerships between fungi and photosynthetic organisms. The fungus provides structure and protection, shielding its partner from devastating sunlight. In return, the photosynthetic partner creates energy from beams of sunlight that slip through the protective layers. Together, they survive in places where neither could live alone. Their slow growth mirrors the slow drift of time in landscapes shaped by wind rather than water. They cling to rocks warmed far beyond 100 degrees Fahrenheit, yet they remain steady, patient, and enduring. There are also alliances between desert plants and underground microbes. Some desert shrubs depend on bacteria living along their roots. These tiny partners transform nitrogen into a form the plants can use. In exchange, the roots offer shelter and steady nourishment. When rain arrives only a few times a year, and sometimes only a few inches fall in a single season, every small advantage shapes survival. These partnerships make the difference between a plant that withers under scorching skies and a plant that sends roots deeper every year. The bacteria receive stable housing in the dark, cool layers of soil, protected from the intense heat that presses down from above. The plants, in turn, grow stronger, offering shade and shelter to small animals that travel across quiet desert nights. In frozen environments, partnerships look different, yet follow the same gentle logic. Beneath thick ice, which in some lakes can reach depths of more than 10 feet, certain algae survive only because of relationships with cold-resistant microorganisms. When sunlight filters through layers of ice, weakened and softened, the algae capture it slowly. The microorganisms living among them help process nutrients in the frigid water, where temperatures can drift dangerously close to the freezing point. These communities form floating networks of resilience. Fish and small invertebrates depend on them as the first quiet step of the food chain. Without these partnerships, entire cold water ecosystems would fall silent. Some frozen partnerships occur not in open lakes, but within the bodies of animals that endure long winters. Certain insects harbor bacteria that help them survive deep cold. These bacteria produce special compounds that prevent the insect's tissues from freezing solid. In return, the insects protect the microbes through long stretches of dormancy. When spring warmth returns after months of frost, both partners awaken, continuing their shared journey. These delicate relationships transform the harshness of winter into a challenge that can be survived calmly, layer by layer, through mutual support. Far beneath the surface of the earth, in places no sunlight has touched for countless years, partnerships grow in darkness. In caves stretching hundreds of feet and deep underground pockets where the temperature remains steady, microbes form relationships with minerals themselves. Some bacteria extract energy from chemicals in the rocks and in turn create compounds that support the growth of other microbes. This chain of quiet support allows life to exist where no plants can grow. In these depths, life feels timeless, shaped by slow interactions that move at a pace more like drifting stone than drifting water. Pressure rises with each yard of depth, but these microbial communities remain patient and unhurried, forming ecosystems that would seem impossible without symbiotic cooperation. Thermal vents on the ocean floor provide another extreme stage for partnership. Pressures there can reach crushing levels, and water heated by volcanic activity can exceed temperatures far beyond what most living beings can tolerate. Yet in these dark places, tube worms and specialized bacteria form one of the most remarkable partnerships on Earth. The worms host the bacteria inside their bodies. The bacteria process chemicals rising from the vents, turning them into nourishment. The worms offer shelter, stable structure, and access to the chemicals the bacteria need. Neither organism could survive alone, but together they form thriving communities in pitch-black water that lies thousands of feet below the surface. These partnerships reveal that even the most inhospitable environments become habitable when life leans into cooperation. Some desert rodents carry seeds of plants that could not otherwise spread across vast sandy distances. In return, the plants produce nutrient-rich seed casings that provide food. Certain bats pollinate plants that bloom only at night, their flowers cooling in the darkness to conserve precious moisture. The bats travel many miles under pale moonlight to drink from these blossoms. Each species relies on the other in landscapes where distances stretch wide and resources remain scarce. Even the smallest gestures of cooperation become meaningful in places shaped by extremes. In high-altitude zones where cold winds sweep across cliffs and oxygen thins with every 100 feet of elevation, animals often depend on microorganisms inside their digestive systems. These microbes help them extract energy from sparse vegetation. Without these microbial partners, survival at such heights would be nearly impossible. These animals walk along narrow ledges and steep slopes, but inside their bodies carries a calm and constant symbiotic presence, an inner alliance that shapes every step. In the deep earth, in frozen lakes, in deserts glowing with heat, and in the crushing darkness of the ocean floor, symbiosis becomes an anchor. It becomes the thread that ties life to possibility. Extreme environments show the true power of partnership. When conditions stretch to the limits of endurance, cooperation becomes not just helpful but essential. Each species gives something small and receives something essential. Life softens the sharpness of its surroundings through mutual support. As you picture these ecosystems, imagine the quiet rhythm that runs beneath them. Imagine slow breaths of wind across dunes, slow currents beneath ice, and slow pulses of volcanic heat rising through deep water. Everywhere, relationships respond gently to these rhythms. Even in the most unforgiving landscapes, partnerships create a sense of calm resilience. Life continues not because it stands alone, but because it stands together, even in the places where conditions whisper that survival should be impossible. Evolution often feels like a long and solitary journey. We picture ancient creatures wandering across changing landscapes, each adapting in isolation as storms swept across plains or as oceans rose over distant shorelines. Yet, evolution has never been a lonely process. It has always been shaped by relationships, by bonds, and by the deep and quiet influence of symbiosis. To understand how species change across thousands of generations, one must look not only at the individuals, but also at the partners, guiding them in subtle ways. Imagine a gentle thread stretching across deep time. Along this thread, species meet, interact, and form bonds that shift the direction of their future. Some of these bonds are fleeting, lasting only a season or a single lifetime. Others become so deeply rooted that they guide evolution like a soft hand shaping clay. These relationships do not shout, they whisper, they guide, and over countless years they sculpt life into forms that could not exist alone. One of the most striking ideas in evolutionary biology is that certain traits do not arise from isolation, but from connection. A species may develop new strengths because it receives protection, nutrition, or stability from a partner. A plant may evolve thicker leaves because a fungus supports its roots during droughts. A bird may grow brighter feathers because a cleaning partner helps maintain its health. A mammal may refine its diet because microbes within its gut unlock nutrients hidden inside tough plants or fibrous materials. Think of a simple example in the ocean. For ages, coral reefs have relied on tiny algae living within their tissues. These algae capture sunlight and create sugars. The corals shelter them, offering safety and nutrients. Over many thousands of years, this partnership has shaped the bodies of corals themselves. Their branching forms, rising several feet above the seafloor, are adapted to hold algae close to the sun. Their tissues have become hospitable to these microscopic partners. They have evolved together, like two quiet dancers moving across an ancient stage. Without this connection, corals would be pale and fragile, unable to build the massive limestone structures that shelter countless fish and invertebrates. Because of their partnership, entire ecosystems spanning many miles have emerged. Reef fish forage among narrow crevices. Sea anemones anchor themselves to firm surfaces. Even sharks travel across open water guided by the magnetic field surrounding these vast ecosystems. And all of it is built on a relationship that began with two organisms learning to live side by side. On land, the story is equally gentle and powerful. Consider grasses that stretch across long plains. Many of these grasses rely on fungi that weave into their tissues. The fungi help the grasses survive drought, cold nights, or grazing animals. In return, the plants offer sugars produced by sunlight filtering through their slender blades. Over thousands of generations, both partners have adapted to support each other. The grasses have evolved chemical defenses shaped by fungal helpers. The fungi have evolved structures that allow them to live comfortably within plant tissues. Together, they form a unit stronger than either species alone. In forests, towering trees several hundred feet tall owe part of their evolutionary success to fungi that reach widely through the soil. These fungi connect roots, forming networks across dozens of yards. Trees that share these fungal connections exchange nutrients, water, and chemical signals. If drought hits, a stronger tree may send support through these networks. If pests arrive, nearby trees may receive early warning. Evolution has favored trees that coexist with these fungi. Their roots have changed. Their chemical signals have changed. Their very survival strategies have changed. In quiet cooperation, fungi and trees shaped each other across deep time. As we move through this soothing exploration, imagine a timeline stretching for millions of years. On this timeline, creatures do not evolve alone. Their paths intersect, their needs intertwine, and over generations, gentle pressures guide the direction of life itself. Butterflies evolve proboscises long enough to reach deep into flowers that bloom in narrow tubes. Flowers in turn develop colors and scents that attract specific pollinators. This partnership becomes so specialized that neither species can truly thrive without the other. It is evolution through intimacy. There are stories where cooperation has shaped entire groups of organisms. Insects such as termites rely on microbes living inside their digestive systems. These microbes break down tough plant fibers, releasing nutrients hidden within dry wood. Without these microbes, termites could not survive on their diet. Over ages, termites evolved digestive chambers perfectly shaped to house these tiny partners. The microbes evolved to thrive in warm, sheltered environments just a few inches long, where temperatures remain stable and conditions remain welcoming. Together, they shaped each other's destiny. This partnership not only changed the insects, it changed landscapes. Termites break down fallen branches and old trees. They recycle nutrients back into the soil. Their relationship influences entire ecosystems. Even mammals, including humans, are shaped by partnerships so ancient that they can no longer be separated from our biology. Microbial communities within the digestive tract help process food, strengthen immunity, and protect against harmful organisms. These microbes influence metabolism, energy levels, and even the development of certain tissues. In turn, our bodies provide warmth, moisture, and food. Over thousands of years, both the microbes and their mammalian hosts evolved features that support one another. A change in diet leads to a change in microbial communities. A change in microbial communities can influence the evolution of digestive enzymes, immune responses, and even sensory preferences. Evolution becomes a conversation, not a monologue. One of the most tender ideas in this field is that symbiosis can create entirely new species. When two organisms evolve so closely together that their partnership becomes essential, their evolutionary fate merges. If one partner changes its behavior, the other adjusts. If one shifts its habitat, the other follows. Over long stretches of time, this mutual guidance leads to new forms, new traits, and new futures. It is as if the two species write each other's stories. Certain flowering plants evolved petals shaped to fit the wings or bodies of specific pollinators. Some insects have tongues long enough to reach nectar deep within blossoms that are several inches below the opening of the flower. If a plant changes its shape, only the insects that adapt alongside it continue to thrive. If an insect changes its feeding structure, only the plants with compatible flowers continue to flourish. This intertwined evolution becomes a soft and steady dance. Birds and large grazing mammals also offer gentle examples. Some birds clean parasites from the skin or fur of these mammals. Over time, the birds adapted to perch safely on broad backs or curved horns. Their feet evolved structures that help them grip gently without causing discomfort. The mammals evolved tolerance for these visitors, allowing them to rest and feed for long moments. This relationship shapes survival strategies. It influences reproduction, seasonal movement, and growth patterns. Evolution follows the path of partnership. Even the shape of ecosystems reflects the influence of symbiosis. Desert plants that stretch across open miles rely on microbial crusts that protect soil from erosion. These crusts stabilize the ground, allowing roots to take hold. Over many generations, plants evolved shallow root systems adapted to work with these crusts. The crusts evolved resilience to withstand heat that can reach well over 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Without each other, they would struggle. Together, they transform dry land into supportive habitat. Symbiosis also guides the evolution of behavior. Some fish develop patterns that attract cleaning partners. Certain primates form grooming alliances that reduce tension and improve group cohesion. Bees perform dances that direct their colony to flowers blooming many yards away. These behaviors help the species survive. They also influence which traits are passed down. Evolution rewards cooperation when cooperation supports life. Across all these examples, one idea remains steady and soothing. Evolution is a shared experience. It unfolds through gentle pressures, through mutual needs, and through ancient connections. When we imagine species moving into the future, we must picture them carrying their partners with them. A tree carries fungi, a coral carries algae, an insect carries microbes. A mammal carries countless invisible companions. Life evolves through relationships, through quiet bonds, through the soft and patient influence of connection. And as we drift through this calm chapter, it becomes clear that symbiosis is not only a part of evolution, it is one of its most powerful and most tender guiding forces. As the quiet world settles into evening light, a gentle question rises: what comes next for the long story of symbiosis? These partnerships have shaped living beings for ages beyond counting, guiding the growth of forests, oceans, and deserts. Now, humans find themselves at a turning point, creating new technologies that echo the same patterns of cooperation found in nature. In the calm hours of night, it is soothing to imagine how future symbioses might unfold, not only between animals and plants, but also between humans and the tools they craft, the environments they reshape, and the living systems they hope to protect. One of the quiet truths of symbiosis is that it thrives in balance. When both partners gain something gentle and sustaining, the relationship becomes durable. As humans design new methods for food, medicine, and energy, many researchers look to natural partnerships as guides. They study how fungi and roots share nutrients, how algae work with corals to gather sunlight, and how bacteria inside bodies fine-tune digestion and immunity. These examples serve as soft reminders that cooperation can offer stability in uncertain conditions. Imagine a future farm where fields are supported not only by soil and rain, but also by carefully chosen microbial partners. These gentle allies could help crops gather nutrients, resist heat, or survive dry spells that last for days or even weeks. In some places, researchers have already begun exploring ways to introduce beneficial fungi that cling to roots the way natural mycorrhizae do. These fungi form networks that can extend several yards through the soil, moving water and minerals with slow precision. The practice is still young, but the idea reflects a timeless message: living systems thrive when they share. In another direction, scientists are studying ways to use bacteria in preventing waste. Some microbes have delicate abilities to break down substances that would otherwise linger in landfills for years. With gentle guidance, these microbes might one day become partners in recycling, feeding on materials, and returning them to safe, reusable forms. The thought of this brings a calming sense of harmony, as if even discarded objects could rejoin the steady cycle of nature. Humans also ponder how symbiosis might shape medicine. Your body carries countless microbes that support health in quiet but powerful ways. Some live in the intestines, helping process food. Others reside on the skin, forming protective layers that keep harmful organisms away. As science recognizes the sensitivity of these relationships, new treatments begin to focus on restoring balance rather than trying to eliminate all microbes. In the future, doctors may introduce carefully designed microbial partners into the body, allowing them to settle and perform gentle tasks, much like gardeners tending to an inner landscape. These biological companions may help regulate inflammation, digest unusual foods, or protect against illness. Even the built environments humans inhabit might adopt lessons from symbiosis. Picture a home designed to support natural airflow, steady temperatures, and gardens that stretch up walls or across roofs. These gardens could be tended not only by people, but also by fungi, insects, and microbes that help stabilize the small ecosystem. Some buildings might collect moisture from the air and share it with plants that in turn provide shade, lowering indoor temperatures by several degrees Fahrenheit. The building and its living elements would form a subtle partnership, each one shaping a comfortable environment for the other. Beyond architecture, technology itself may become a partner. Soft sensors woven into clothing or gently attached to the skin could monitor health in quiet ways, offering early signs of stress, dehydration, or poor rest. These devices would not replace natural bodily awareness, but instead form a comforting extension of it. They would act like watchful companions, guiding humans toward steadier rhythms of sleep and activity. In a way, this is a new kind of symbiosis, with technology offering care while relying on humans to provide energy and maintenance. In forests and oceans, humans may also step into cooperative roles with other species. People might work with specific species of bees or butterflies to support pollination across many miles of farmland. They may assist reefs by cultivating heat-tolerant algae that can form gentle relationships with coral, helping them survive warming waters. These actions mirror the quiet give and take found in natural symbiosis, support offered in exchange for a stable and flourishing environment. There is also the comforting thought that symbiosis might guide how humans explore outer space. If one day people settle on moons or distant planets, they will likely rely on tiny living partners such as bacteria and algae to recycle air, break down waste, and grow food. These organisms would form the foundation of off-world life support systems. In return, humans would provide the light, warmth, and nutrients needed for these small companions to thrive. Even far from Earth, life would continue its ancient habit of forming gentle partnerships. As you imagine these possibilities, picture them unfolding with slow grace. No sudden leaps, no loud transformations. Just steady steps where humans learn from nature and nature learns to coexist with human intention. Cooperation deepens. Fragile ecosystems regain strength. New relationships form in places where none existed before. Throughout all these futures, one truth remains: symbiosis is not merely a biological concept, it is a rhythm, a pattern, a soft way of living that values balance over force, sharing over isolation, and connection over solitude. Whether it appears in a root stretching several feet below a forest floor or in a circuit designed to rest against human skin, the essence is the same. Life moves more gently and often more successfully when it moves together. Think of a desert at dusk, where the heat from the day slowly fades and the air shifts toward cooler tones. In that quiet scene, partnerships hold the landscape steady. Tiny fungi help desert plants absorb every precious drop of water. Birds rely on small mammals to flush insects from hiding places among the rocks. Plants cast shade that protects soil microbes from temperatures that can rise well above 100 degrees Fahrenheit during midday. Even in a place that appears harsh, cooperation thrives. Or imagine a coral reef under soft waves that rise only a few feet above its surface. Within the coral, algae gather sunlight and transform it into food. The coral offers shelter and minerals. This exchange has allowed reefs to stretch for miles along coastlines, forming habitats that support countless species. When the relationship weakens, the reef suffers. When the partnership is restored, the reef heals. These examples remind us that the future of symbiosis depends on the delicate balance already present in the world. As conditions shift, living beings must adapt, finding new partners or strengthening old ones. Humans, too, must choose how to participate in this pattern, whether through sustainable practices, thoughtful design, or the nurturing of fragile ecosystems. If you listen closely to the quiet of the night, you can almost sense the slow pulse of these relationships. It is the same pulse that has guided life for ages. It speaks of connection, endurance, and the gentle promise that living beings, when woven together, can create stability even in changing times. As you breathe softly and allow the calm to settle deeper, imagine the entire planet as a tapestry made of many threads. Some threads stretch for many miles, linking forests to rivers. Some weave through the soil in root-thin paths. Some drift through the air in the form of spores or seeds. And some live deep within bodies, quietly supporting the rhythms of breath, digestion, and rest. The future of symbiosis is simply the future of these threads, growing, shifting, and strengthening as time moves forward. It is not a story of domination or rivalry, but one of subtle collaboration. A story where every organism, from the smallest bacterium to the tallest tree, finds its place in a network of shared existence. As night deepens, this vision offers comfort. It invites you to rest in the understanding that life is not solitary. Everything is connected through countless soft relationships. And as long as these relationships continue to grow, the world will remain a place shaped by cooperation, resilience, and quiet harmony. The journey of symbiosis is a quiet one, a soft drifting through connections that shape the living world in ways we rarely see. As your thoughts begin to settle, imagine once more the gentle partnerships we explored. Picture the forests with their hidden networks beneath many feet of soil. Picture the reefs breathing in slow rhythms under several feet of warm coastal water. Picture deserts glowing in the last rays of daylight, where small and resilient beings rely on one another to survive heat that can climb far above 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Everywhere, life leans gently toward life. Symbiosis reminds us that no creature stands alone. Every leaf, every feather, every grain of sand carries traces of shared history. The world is a tapestry woven from countless threads, each thread strengthened by the presence of another. Even within our own bodies, quiet partnerships unfold every moment, guiding our breath, shaping our senses, and helping us stay balanced. It is comforting to know that support is not an exception in nature, it is the rule. As night settles around you, imagine these relationships continuing their slow and steady work. Trees share sugars with their fungal partners. Birds carry seeds across many miles of open sky. Small creatures shape soil that will nurture new life. All of it unfolds in stillness, in patience, in the tender cooperation that has carried life forward for ages far beyond memory. Symbiosis is the story of connection. It is the reminder that strength grows from community, from soft exchanges, from steady companionship. This quiet truth runs through oceans, forests, deserts, and through every corner of the world we call home. Allow this thought to rest with you now. Let it soften your breath and calm your senses. You are part of this gentle network too, part of a world built on cooperation and quiet resilience. A world held together by bonds older than mountains and more delicate than a single drifting seed. As you drift towards sleep, imagine these invisible threads holding the world in balance, and let their quiet strength hold you as well.